Here's an opportunity to grade this question, A through F. I'm an expert at that. The people who make up and are represented by C live mostly in the heart of Knoxville, which is basically the low-income area of the inner city, otherwise known as the empowerment zone. The empowerment zone was targeted for millions of federal dollars to improve the economic conditions in the heart of Knoxville. This is the first part of the question. What overall grade, A through F, would you give the empowerment zone as a program to improve the heart of Knoxville? And state your reason why. Do I need to clarify or reread?
Did we get to the empowerment zone?
Yes. Two parts of this question. The empowerment zone was targeted for millions of federal dollars to improve the economic conditions in the heart of Knoxville. What grade would you give that program, the empowerment zone, and why? You understand the question? Wait, I just need to put it together. Very good, please. Mr. Patch.
You know, I wouldn't pretend to know every detail of the empowerment zone and how every project there went. But I'll tell you this: there's still a lot of need out there. I think there's some good things that happened from it. I think there's some money that was well spent. And so, without being able to sit here and tell you I know what grade they should have, I mean, I would say I'm not qualified as you are to do that. But you know, let's say a C. There's always room to improve. You know, and looking forward to getting in there and helping with that.
Okay, the Empowerment Zone program lasted for 10 years. I was the Director of Community Development for the last 4 years. It had started out as a $100 million project that was all-inclusive of social services, youth services, economic development, housing, all of that. It was later narrowed down to really focusing on economic development, which meant there were a lot of people that weren't happy because really wonderful programs were never able to be funded. And instead of $100 million, the city ended up getting $25.6 million. It had its fair share of controversy over the years, but overall, a lot of dedicated community people worked very hard. And in the end, the $25.6 million, and there is a report online in the community development, on the community development website in the city of Knoxville. As a result of that, there were, I'll give you one example just with the commercial facade program. That, along with some other dollars, all of this targeted really the heart of Knoxville. Over $3.5 million was spent, $12 million. I'm running out of time.
Yes, sure.
I'd love to talk to you more about that.
Well, here is the next question. Maybe we can both get a little more clarification on it. If elected mayor, what would you do to establish a green empowerment zone? And what would that look like?
Wow.
Yes, you're first.
No,
Madam first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, in essence, where we've been doing our great work has been in the empowerment zone over the last few years, because all the work that the city has, well, let's say all the work that the Community Development Department has done has been focused about 98% in the empowerment zone. And as I mentioned, we did the Energy Star, the Earthcraft renovation, league houses. We actually, in downtown Vestal, we had, we built the first pervious parking lot that the city was responsible for. And we, part of the downtown Vestal plan, incorporated a lot of green infrastructure. South Water and green development, green infrastructure elements. The South Waterfront plan is the same. So I'd say that going forward, everything is, in my administration, going forward, any development, any plan that we come up with has got to have a green focus, because we've got to think, we have to be energy efficient, and we have to think about sustainability for future generations.
I think this is a perfect time, because it really is not a zone, but it's anyone, you know, within the city that would fall into these. But is the idea that I was talking about with the KEAP financing, underwriting the financing of energy efficient upgrading. I lived in a home in Lonsdale, built in 1905. We had maybe $800, sometimes even up to $1,000 utility bills. I've talked to a lot of people in the city of Knoxville that have $600 and $700 and $800, utility bills. And so what I propose is let's just take $1,000 a month because it's easy math and say that we can come in and look at these homes and reduce their needs by about 30% or $300 a month. I would propose that we work with the state to have KEAP finance these. It's very sustainable to have KEAP finance these energy efficiency upgrades. That this person continue to pay the $1,000 a month, but that $300 of the savings would go to pay off that loan in 3 to 5 years. It does 3 things. Number one, we create clean, green jobs right here doing these things in the city of Knoxville. Number 2, we have a lack of need for an additional watt of power generated. And number 3, after these things are paid off, the savings to an inner city family of say $300 in that model is immense and unbelievable. And it's something I would do to create a green type of empowerment zone.
Thank you. We're going to move to our last question in this phase of the presentation. Here is the question. How would your administration attract green companies to retrofit and reoccupy some of the empty plants in the heart of Knoxville? Yes, you do go first.
Well, here again, I have an example, a very specific example. One of the things we did with Empowerment Zone funding, thanks to the P&I board, which, by the way, Empowerment Zone was managed the entire 10 years by a board of citizens and stakeholders. And the city administered it the last part, the grant the entire time, and the actual kind of staffed it the last 4 years. But one of the things that we did was use some of the funds for a revolving loan fund, which was a business expansion loan program. And one of the businesses that benefited from that was Sustainable Future, which moved into the city, into the empowerment zone, really downtown Vestal. And we invested a little bit of money to help them expand. They have now, I just heard today, they have gone from 14 employees to 22 employees. So just in this, since they moved here, they've added 8 employees. That's an example of how we can encourage solar or energy efficiency, renewable energy companies to come to Knoxville to help them in the revolving loan program.
Thank you.
Well, I definitely think we need to do a better job of investing, and I put an idea out there that's similar to a Tinvesco that the state uses model of funding startup companies, and what we should do is look to take some of these Oak Ridge technologies. I can only point to one company out of Oak Ridge, and we have 4,000 researchers between UT and Oak Ridge, and they spin off 20 to 30 products or licenses or patents or technologies a year, and a lot of those, or many of those, are in the clean energy field. A lot of ideas, with battery technology and things. I believe the city of Knoxville needs to work to attract some of these companies to actually be in Knoxville so that we don't lose them to California or Ohio or New York or Minnesota or Michigan or wherever they might go. And we do that. A company to grow needs access to capital. And so I would propose that we provide a greater access to capital. But we also need to go out there and proactively recruit companies. We have a number of companies in this general area that are in the clean energy field, and I think we can use that to attract more. And the more green our culture is here in Knoxville, I believe that's going to attract those type of companies to Knoxville that want to come here and do business.
Thank you.